Hello, and welcome to the Day One or One Day podcast where we talk all things fitness, wellness, and self concept. So, thank you so much for joining. I am definitely glad that you're here, whether you're listening while hitting a Pilates flow or just planning your week. This is a space for you. So, the name of our app and this podcast actually comes from a very simple question. Is today day one of your new life, or is it just one day in the future that will happen or may never come? So, I'm definitely glad to be here to help you make it day one. And today we're going to dive into why. The science behind the initial burst of energy that we can feel when we start a new fitness journey or, just a new routine in our life, a new eating habit, whatever the reasons you're, trying to make a change. And the real reason why that flame can actually flicker out, you know. So let's begin with the science of starting. So we've all been there, right? You've bought some new gear, you've downloaded the app, you feel like you're a superhero, right? And in psychology, this is known as the fresh start effect. So, research actually suggests that human beings are hardwired to use temporal landmarks like Monday or the start of a month or a new year as a way to distance ourselves from our past failures. That's why I love this whole energy of making it day one, because every day can be your fresh start instead of waiting for the beginning of the next month or the next quarter or the next year or any of those, outside landmarks. You can focus intrinsically and say, well, it's day one, regardless of what happened yesterday. Maybe I didn't do the hardest workout, which I don't even know why you want to, punish yourself by doing the hardest workout. But, different strokes for different folks, I guess. But it's still a landmarker to say, hey, day one again, and I can, be more excited about how I'm going to work out today. Or day one again, and that thing that I had yesterday, I can, put that in the past and make today the best version of myself. So when you actually decide to start your journey, your brain will experience a dopamine spike. And quite frankly, dopamine is our reward chemical, but it's also the chemical of anticipation. So you aren't just excited about the workout that you're going to do. No, that's really not it. Really, you're anticipating and you're excited about the future version of you who you're expecting to be tomorrow, right? And that's actually that's the initial place where this motivation is coming from. So it's the drive to change your self concept, or the drive to change the way you see yourself in the mirror, or to drive the way that you feel within your mind. All of this, right? So you may be wondering then, why do I stop? If I'm this motivated to see this different version of myself, why would I stop? Great question, right? So let's talk about the wall. So if we have all of this science backed excitement, why would we stop? Usually it's because the novelty is just worn off. And when your prefrontal cortex, which is, the part of your brain responsible for your willpower, it gets tired. I know you may not think of your brain as a place that gets tired like your muscles do after a long workout or anything of that nature, but it does. It's actually one of the hardest working organs in your body. So, of course, it has, the possibility to get heated, to get tired, all of these things. So, in many fitness programs, you might feel like someone is towering over you and demanding that you change. When you feel pressured or restricted, your brain can enter this threat state, making exercise feel like a chore or, something that is actually a threat rather than a choice, something that you're making deliberately and something that you made deliberately and, sticking to it, making it a commitment for yourself. And actually, this is exactly why people quit. So at day one or one day, we approach this differently. We know that self motivation is the only thing that actually creates lasting change. And if you feel like you have to do a rigid routine, you'll stop. But if you have the freedom to play, the freedom to create your own moves, the freedom to, change the way you eat, whatever diet you want to switch to, you know, weekly, monthly, whatever, that freedom to play within your own rights, whether it's just adding the flair to a step routine, whatever, your brain stays engaged because it feels like it has a sense of autonomy, right? So let's talk about the tools that you will need, okay, for that dopamine dip, if you want to call it that. That's what I like to call it, that dopamine dip. So to beat that dopamine dip, you need more than just a pep talk. A pep talk is obviously useful, so I do, encourage you to listen to this podcast on the treadmill and whatever that's getting you, or on your walk to the gym, anything like that, or your ride to the gym, whatever, anything that you can give yourself that extra hit of motivation to keep going. This podcast is here for you to do that, but you need more than that. You actually need a system. So this is where the educational side of our app can come in, right? So inside of the app, or even if you're doing it self-motivating, the number one tool that you can use is a timer and a tracker. So scientifically, tracking your progress provides small and frequent microdoses of dopamine that replace that fading novelty of the day one. So when you get into that middle point, let's say it's actually day 10, quote unquote, but you've passed that day one, but you're not yet at like a day 30 marker. So you're like trying to wane and you're trying to fight that stopping point. Looking back to where you've come from often helps you, right? Also, just the meal planning. A lot of things that get people to stop is the constant new things that they have to do. So not only do you have to work out in the gym, of course we know that, but a lot of what you do is what you intake and what you eat. And since changing your diet can be a part of the one of the hardest tasks of, bringing your new self-concept into being, we have made it easy with the meal planning, just because we can provide those meal prepping tools of the actual grocery list and taking all of that friction out of the beginning of this process. So since you already have to do so many hard things in order to change, the theory with this is taking some of that friction out of your way, bringing some things off your plate. Get it? Taking things off your plate. But these things are going to help you, right? Providing that, because it becomes, when you're in this new space and you're having to do new things, it can become a decision fatigue. And, it's like the thing of like heading home and you're just now thinking about, after you've had a long day of work, you're just now trying to think about, what you're going to eat for dinner. Having this planned out ahead of time really helps you, because you don't have to think about what to eat, and you are able to save that mental energy for your movement that you may have to do when you get home, or, just for that energy of like having something for yourself, having some energy saved up so that you're not, constantly in fight or flight mode with yourself to change. So also, I would say the variety of the app. So moving between the different exercises of hula hooping, Pilates, step, and just things of that nature. You can even do like core exercises, weightlifting, different things like that. That prevents adaptive thermogenesis and mental burnout, because it keeps the body guessing. Like, it keeps the mind guessing too, so you can switch it up and, just surprise your own self and, get rid of that, oh, it's getting boring, or the novelty is wearing off feeling, right? So in closing, changing the story. is first. Changing your story is first. So as we wrap up our first episode, I want you to remember fitness isn't about me forcing you to change. It's about you working with the physical and mental changes as they happen. Motivation will always get you started, but a shift in your self concept, believing that you are the type of person who shows up for yourself, is what keeps you going. So ask yourself, is it day one or is it just one day? I think you know the answer, okay? So check out the app, Day One or One Day Fitness. It will definitely be down in the description below. And, start tracking your wins today. Start, meal prepping, whatever you can do today. Begin today. Don't think of it as tomorrow and I'll be prepared tomorrow. There's always something that you could do today, even if it's just, well, I'm going to change what I'm eating for dinner tonight and then I'll begin my workout tomorrow. Anything that you can do. So that is what I have for you. And until next time, keep moving and keep finding your joy.